How practical are these degrees? Well, first of all, we didn't just make this up overnight. Interdisciplinary study isn't new. It's tapping into one of the oldest traditions in the history of education, or higher education, the liberal arts approach. Now, this was the dominant mode of education in Europe from 1088 to 1800. It's evolved over time, but a constant feature of the liberal arts approach to education has been that it involves a combination of the humanities and the sciences. And the animating ideal, the kind of goal or purpose behind liberal arts education, is to prepare people to understand the world around them and to contribute to civil society as free individuals. So, what happened to education in the 19th century? So, this was the dominant mode of education up until about the 19th century. So, what happened? The short answer is Adam Smith happened. Adam Smith, major figure of the Scottish Enlightenment, major philosopher and economist, wrote The Wealth of Nations. Great book, very influential. Part of his influence was an influence on education. So people said, no, we have a new animating idea behind the university education. Higher education exists to provide job-specific training. So this created a real push behind early specialization. So in other words, it made a very big difference in how higher education works on a practical level, a very big one. Because of this specialization model, university education became 3 years of study in one single department. So you spend 3 years studying pretty much the same thing, talking to pretty much the same people, engaged with pretty much the same faculty, and you have the content of a single discipline fed to you for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 years. And the idea is it's because you're specializing. You're going to university to get specialized training. So to sort of depict it visually, right, here's an aerial view of the lovely University of Essex. Lots of green spaces, a nice place to be. So in the typical degree, you have this huge university, but you just spend all your time there because that's where your department is. And that's where you're going to meet people, and that's where you're going to study. Now, in a liberal arts degree, right, a degree in this sort of interdisciplinary tradition that I'm trying to familiarize you with now, that's not going to be the case. You're going to be studying different disciplines, and so you're going to be all over campus. So you're going to have the flexibility to pursue your interests and your passions, and you're going to be positioned to make connections between the disciplines, the problems, and also quite literally, you're going to be making connections with people in other departments, which really is difficult to make happen when you're studying in a single faculty. So Adam Smith might say, well, that sounds fun, but what about careers? Well, here's Alexander von Humboldt, one of the major defenders of the liberal arts tradition. And you can imagine them having this conversation about it. So von Humboldt says, you don't go to university for job-specific training, Adam. Then why go? Well, there's a million reasons. Obviously, there's a million reasons to go to university. There are all kinds of great benefits that are non-market benefits of going to university. But since we're talking to Adam Smith, right, we want to give our answer in economic terms. And the answer is basically transferable skills. So what are those? What are transferable skills? Well, I explain transferable skills with the classic 1980s karate movie, The Karate Kid. So here's the Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso. He's picked on at school. He wants to learn how to fight. And Mr. Miyagi here says, I'll teach you how to fight. And then has him wash cars and paint fences over and over again, right? So here he is washing and waxing Mr. Miyagi's car. And at a certain point, Daniel LaRusso gets angry and he says, you're supposed to teach me how to fight. And all you're doing is making me do your work. And then essentially there's this great scene where Mr. Miyagi starts throwing punches at him. And Daniel learns that the skills he's been practicing, washing the car and painting the fence, are actually transferable skills. He does the exact same movements and he now knows how to fight, right? So that's the basic idea. So the physical movement that he's engaged in when he's washing the car is a skill that transfers to the domain of fighting. And that's what transferable skills are. Of course, we're not interested in fighting skills at university. We're interested in cognitive skills. So the major transferable skills that you would get from an IS degree are skills like critical thinking, communication skills, and interpersonal skills. Now, I can't go into this here. I have a whole talk on careers, and I give you a link to that in the document that I've shared with you. But I'll just say, employers now more and more are looking for people who will elevate the performance of other people around them. They're even creating unique job interviews where people interact together, and they're looking for the people who have these sorts of critical thinking skills and interpersonal skills that allow them to elevate the performance of people around them. Anyways, I say more about those things in my talk about careers. I'd love it if you looked at it. Also, I wanted to quickly share a brief video with you from one of our students, Holly Worrell. She's an excellent student. She graduated last year. She's currently an education manager at the company SLU. SLU is a robotic telescope service that can be viewed live through a web browser. It's essentially an education company, and Holly works for them. And she's also about to pursue a master's degree in a different discipline. She's going to do that part-time while she's working. And I just wanted to share with you what Holly had to say about how studying with us helped her with her work.
You know, this is completely applicable to the workplace as well. I found that all of the skills that I developed by looking at all of the different disciplines and knowing how to take a multiple kind of step approach to view a problem has been probably the most useful thing in the workplace. So this is not just a degree that's completely academic. This is absolutely applicable to pretty much, I think, any workplace. And I'm just able to look at problems, look at things that are coming in, and offer a multi kind of faced approach that other people who have taken more kind of rigid and structured degrees just don't have that perspective on. And that just gives you the ability to kind of jump in and come up with the ideas and really be able to approach many, many different things that otherwise, if you'd had that rigidity, you probably wouldn't have been able to do in the same way. So that's definitely been a benefit on my behalf, and not just because it's in STEM and in a kind of more space sector, but even within that sector, you know, there's still marketing, there's still the business side of it. And you need different approaches. You need the appreciation of culture. You need to understand the politics and the philosophy. And every subject is so interconnected. And you can see that in the workplace as well.
Okay, so that was Holly Worrell. I think that's really helpful. I have put a link on the document I shared with you today, and you can click on that and see more of our students, past and present, talking about their experience studying with us. I really hope that you'll take a look at them. They have really great things to say, and I just think that students find listening to other students very helpful.